Think about the last time someone disrespected you. Maybe it was in public. Maybe in front of people who mattered to you. Maybe it was small, a dismissive tone, a condescending comment, a deliberate silence designed to make you feel invisible. And you reacted. You defended yourself, explained yourself, raised your voice, or worse. You went quiet in a way that told everyone you were hurt. Now here is the question no one is asking you. What did that reaction cost you? Not in the moment, not emotionally, in power, in perception, in the way people see you from that day forward. Because here is the truth most people are not ready to accept. The moment you react, you confess. You confess that the other person reached you, that their words found something inside you, that you can be moved, shaken, and, most importantly, controlled. And once someone knows they can move you, they never stop trying. Truth 1. Your reaction is the weapon they were waiting for. Understand this. Provocations are rarely random. When someone insults you, belittles you, or pushes against you in a social situation, they aren't simply being careless. They are, consciously or not, running a test. The test is simple. Can I get inside this person's head? If you react, you answer the test. You say, yes. Yes, I can be reached. Yes, I am affected. Yes, you have power over my emotional state. And that is the moment the dynamic shifts. This is not philosophy. This is observable human behavior. Watch the people around you. The ones who get pushed the most are rarely the weakest. They are the most reactive. Because reaction is a signal. It broadcasts that there is something worth provoking. It invites more. The person who doesn't react does not simply avoid conflict. They remove the reward entirely. And without reward, the provocation dies. It has nowhere to go. It falls back onto the person who launched it, and suddenly they are the one who looks unstable. You did nothing, and that was the move. Truth 2. Stillness is not weakness. It is dominance wearing disguise. Most people have been taught a lie. They were taught that responding, clapping back, standing up loudly, and making their anger visible is strength. That silence means you have no answer. That restraint is something you do when you are afraid. This is a comfortable lie. It keeps the average person reactive, predictable, and easy to manage. The truth is darker. Stillness is one of the most disorienting things you can present to another human being. When someone provokes you and you don't move, something happens to them psychologically. They expected a response. They planned for one. Their entire move was built on the assumption that you would react the way a normal, emotional, unguarded person reacts. When you don't, their script collapses. Ask yourself, when was the last time you saw a truly powerful person scramble to defend themselves at a dinner table? When did you last see someone who commands rooms stop to argue with someone beneath their level? You haven't. Because power does not argue. Power observes. Power waits. Power speaks precisely when speaking is the most devastating option, and remains silent for everything else. Here is something uncomfortable. The person you envy most, the one who seems untouchable, respected, magnetic, is probably not smarter than you. They are not more talented than you. They have simply mastered something you have not. They have mastered the pause. Truth 3. What your reactions reveal about your architecture. Every time you react, you give someone a map. Not a metaphorical map. A real psychological map. A detailed accurate diagram of exactly where you are fragile, where your identity is still unresolved, and what you are most afraid people believe about you. Think about it carefully. You don't react to things that don't threaten you. You don't get furious when someone accuses you of something you know is completely false. You don't collapse when someone questions a skill you are genuinely confident in. The reactions that sting, the provocations that crack your composure are always the ones that land closest to an open wound you haven't yet closed. The man who explodes when his intelligence is questioned has unresolved doubt about his own mind. The woman who becomes desperate when someone ignores her is still negotiating with an older version of herself that feared abandonment. Your reactions don't defend you. They describe you, and the people around you are reading that description, whether you know it or not. Truth 4. The psychology of the person who cannot be moved. There is a particular kind of person who makes others deeply uncomfortable. They are not aggressive. They are not cold. They do not walk around radiating hostility or performing calm. They simply cannot be rattled. And this is maddening to people who are used to using emotional volatility as a form of social currency. What makes this person so unsettling? It is the uncertainty they create. When you can read someone's reactions, you feel a sense of safety. You know where the edges are. You know what to avoid and what to use. You understand the emotional geography of the relationship, and therefore, you have some control over it. But the person who does not react deprives you of that map. You don't know where they stand. You don't know if your words landed. You don't know if you impressed them, offended them, or bored them entirely. And that uncertainty is psychologically torturous for the kind of person who feeds off emotional feedback. Without knowing where you stand, people assume the worst. That you are above them. That you are unmoved because you have seen more, experienced more, and are operating on a level they haven't reached. This assumption is a form of power. And you never had to claim it. You simply didn't react. Stop. Think about someone in your life who has this quality, the one who never seems rattled. Do you respect them? Of course you do. Most people do. Not because of what they say, because of what they don't do. Truth 5. How to build the architecture of non-reaction. Now here is where most content about this subject fails you. It tells you to stay calm. It says breathe. It says count to 10. That is surface-level advice. And surface-level advice only works in low-stakes situations. The deeper truth is this. You cannot perform non-reaction without building the internal conditions that make it natural. You cannot fake stillness convincingly when you are internally fractured. People feel the difference. They sense the effort. And effort, ironically, still reveals that you were moved. You are just working hard to hide it. Real non-reaction comes from something else entirely. It comes from identity resolution. From a person who has sat with their own insecurities long enough that they are no longer surprised by them. Who has stopped negotiating with their own worth and arrived at a settled answer. Not an arrogant one. Not a defensive one. A settled one. When your identity is settled, provocations lose their address. They arrive looking for a wound and find nothing to grip. They pass through you like a question asked in the wrong language. The work, then, is not to train your face to stay neutral. The work is to become someone who has genuinely outgrown the need for external validation. Someone who stopped measuring themselves through the reactions of others long enough that their own stillness became sincere. That is not a technique. That is a transformation. Truth 6. The strategic use of silence. Here is something that is rarely spoken about directly. Silence is not just the absence of response. In the right moment, silence is the most precise and devastating form of communication available to you. When someone attacks you verbally and you respond with words, you meet them at their level. The exchange becomes symmetrical. And in a symmetrical exchange, the better speaker often wins. Not the more composed person, not the more correct person. But when someone attacks you and you answer with silence, sustained, comfortable, unashamed silence, you shift the entire architecture of the moment. You are no longer at their level. You are observing from somewhere they cannot reach. The silence says, I heard you. I considered you. And I found you insufficient to respond to. That is not rudeness. That is surgical precision. The most dangerous response you will ever give someone is no response at all, because they cannot argue with it. They cannot overcome it. They cannot find a weakness in it. All they can do is sit with the discomfort of having spoken and received nothing back. And that discomfort will echo in them far longer than any argument you could have won. Here is what changes when you stop reacting. You stop being predictable. And unpredictable people are very difficult to control. You stop broadcasting your wounds, and people stop aiming at them. You stop handing your composure to other people as a gift they didn't earn. You become, in the most precise sense, harder to read. And a person who is hard to read is assumed to be playing a deeper game. Not because you told them so, not because you claimed power, but because you demonstrated something far more convincing than any claim. You demonstrated that you cannot be easily shaken. And in a world full of people who are triggered, reactive, and emotionally available to anyone who pushes hard enough, that quality is extraordinarily rare. People will sense it before they can name it. They will treat you differently before they understand why. They will give you deference you never asked for, space you never demanded, and attention you never chased. Because power, in its quietest and most real form, is not taken. It accumulates. In every moment, you held your composure when others expected you to break. In every silence that answered louder than words could. In every provocation you watched pass through you like it was aimed at someone who no longer lives there. That is the power of not reacting. Not that you felt nothing, but that you chose deliberately, strategically, and with full awareness to give nothing away. But here is what this video did not tell you. Non-reaction is only half of the architecture, because there is a second layer, a darker, more precise skill that the most strategically dangerous people use after the silence, after the stillness, after they have allowed the other person to fully reveal themselves. What they do next is not obvious. It is not what you would expect. And when you see it, you will realize that everything in this video was only the preparation. That is what comes next.